is recorded. And I'm going to take this moment to pass it over to Jamie Crispin. Jamie, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much. My name is Jamie Crispin, and I'm the Youth Programs Manager at the National Park Service for the Youth Programs Division. I am a female with short brown hair wearing a black dress, and my virtual background is of Tallgrass Prairie Nature Preserve in Kansas. I want to welcome all of you to today's webinar, but I really want to start by thanking each one of you for deciding to be an intern with the National Park Service. We are very excited to welcome you and to support you through this transformative experience this summer and hopefully beyond. As many of you know, national parks are places of exploration, wellness, healing, and opportunities. At the National Park Service Youth Programs Division, we connect over 5,700 youth and young adults through paid internships service-wide. Our national internship programs, like the ones that you're in, support our mission by preserving the natural, cultural, historical, and recreation resources of our nation. As a former AmeriCorps member and returned Peace Corps volunteer, I can speak from the heart about the experience that internships and workforce development programs, how it can change you personally and professionally. I encourage all of you to take advantage of each learning opportunity, meet all the people you can, ask questions, and be open to feedback. Soon, if not already, you'll be working alongside National Park staff to help build your leadership and professional development skills, hopefully earning certifications like the Public Land Corps certificate, and hopefully finding employment opportunities with the National Park Service or other federal agencies. We know you'll be working in various roles, whether to build trails, to work in museums, as park rangers. Please know that we love that our programs are for all Americans, and we aim to build a respectful, inclusive, safe, and engaging environment, which includes all interns. So now more than ever, we look towards you all to help us innovate, transform, and enhance the National Park Service. We really are encouraged by you all as coming up as a new generation to be conservation leaders, environmental advocates, and outdoor enthusiasts. In ending, there's a place for everyone, especially for youth and young adults, to support the mission at our national parks. I applaud all of you by saying yes to this opportunity. I wish you all the best through your National Park Service internship. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kim for the remainder of our presentation.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Starling. I am the NPS Program Manager for the Anti-Harassment Office. And I'm going to share some information to you today that will be valuable as you engage in your internship with NPS. Next slide, please. Okay, today I'm going to go over some information so you understand what harassment is. And I'm going to go over those, some of these areas that I'm going to cover on the next slide as I go over our objectives. Next slide. Okay, so today we're going to discuss, I want you to understand the purpose of why do we even have an anti-harassment program. I know some of you have commonly heard of the EEO program or filing an EEO complaint, but I want you to understand the purpose of the anti-harassment program and the difference of this program compared to EEO. I'm going to define some important concepts and terms related to anti-harassment and retaliation to help you understand. I'm going to give you some examples of what unacceptable behavior is in conduct that is considered retaliatory. I'm going to highlight on you as an employee, your rights and responsibilities and bystander responsibilities, and let you know what happens after we receive a report of harassing conduct. What happens next and what is the process? Next. So one, the purpose of the anti-harassment program And the goal of Directive 16E, also known as the Anti-Harassment Policy, is first to ensure that NPS or managers take immediate and appropriate corrective action, including appropriate disciplinary action to assist in eliminating harassing conduct. Also, is to address any harassing conduct at the earliest possible stage before it becomes severe or pervasive, meaning widespread. Um, and within the meaning of anti-harassment, the anti-discrimination law. Okay, so what's the definition of harassment as it refers to an anti-harassment policy? So it's defined as unwelcome conduct, either verbal or physical, including intimidation, ridicule, insults, comments, or physical conduct that is based on an individual's protected status. Now, protected status, we're going to go over what categories fall into protective status within the anti-harassment program, which is different than a protected status when someone files an EEO complaint. And the behavior must considerably or reasonably adversely affect the work environment, and it's based upon the employee's acceptance of rejection of such conduct. Next. So, of course, harassing conduct is prohibited by Director's Order 16E, as we just went over the definition. But protected status, what is protected status? So protected status is an individual's race, color, religion, sex, including pregnancy and gender identity, sexual orientation, national origin, age. Now that's any age, I want you to understand. With EEO, it's over age 40. With the anti-harassment program, it can be any age, and I'll go into that further example of what that may look like. Disability, family medical history, including genetic information, status as a parent, marital status, or political affiliation. Now, protected status, that simply means retaliation. If you are retaliated against, that's a protected activity under the 16E anti-harassment program. Next slide. So let me dig in deeper a little bit about retaliation. So retaliation against an individual who engage in a protected activities is prohibited. So retaliation doesn't mean, well, they did this to me, so I did one thing and they're getting back at me for this. Specifically regarding the anti-harassment policy, it means if you say as an intern reported harassing conduct or discrimination, or you filed a claim of harassment, or you even participated in an investigation, or you intervened to help protect others who may suffered harassing conduct. Those are the type of activities that you must have engaged in before it's considered retaliatory. So if you engage in any of these areas I just named, and someone retaliates against you or treats you differently because you engaged in any type of these complaint processes, then you're protected under the anti-harassment policy. Next slide. And also with retaliation, a manager may not fire you, demote, harass, or otherwise take any personnel action against any individual for reporting allegations of misconduct under this policy. So here are some examples that we're going to discuss. Some of them are obvious, but some of them may not come to mind because you may think it's playful, because you know a person at work, but you have to keep in mind you never know who's standing by listening, or who may observe you that may get offended. So we're going to just go over some examples. So shouting at or being sarcastic towards either or demeaning. Physical conduct, such as touching, hugging, and massaging. Now, some people you may know may be huggers, and they might not mind a hug. That doesn't mean it's automatically harassing conduct. But if someone lets you know that, hey, I'm not a hugger, so please just respect their boundaries with that. Some obvious hugging might be if you're hugging somebody and you're rubbing them on their back, like in a sexual nature. So you want to be careful with that. Staring at someone or making sexual gestures. It could be the way that you stare at them. For example, if you're looking at somebody up and down in a sexual manner, and a person gets offended, so you want to be careful with that. Some expressions that we may not realize because you may use them outside of work or depending on your geographic area, it may be normal for you to use these type of words, but you have to be careful at work. For example, babe and boo, hey, sweetie. So you want to be careful with those type of expressions as well. Displaying sexual images, either in print or digitally. Be careful what you have up on your phone. You don't want to have any type of sexual images, whether it's from something online that you pull up or something a picture of your own of yourself. Be careful with those images that you pull up at work. Okay, next slide. Okay, here's some additional examples of unacceptable conduct. Okay, some of the ones that might not be as obvious that I have highlighted here in red is request for a date or rating a person's personal or physical attributes based on their sex. Meaning, now, just keep in mind that people meet the love of their life at work all the time. It can happen. So, but for example, if you ask a coworker out on a date and they say yes, that doesn't mean that it's considered sexual harassment. The main thing is the repeated request. For example, if you ask your coworker out on a date, they say, oh, no, I'm not interested. I just want to keep it friendly. And you keep asking them over and over. So that's what you have to be careful for. Okay. And also spreading rumors about personal or sexual, personal or physical attributes. For example, commenting on somebody's sexuality or sexual activity. You might hear rumors or saying things, oh, well, so-and-so sleeping with this person or so-and-so sleeping. You want to be careful about the conversations. Simply put, keep it professional at work. Next slide. And where can harassing conduct occur? Well, keep in mind that it can occur in person. It can happen on or off duty, especially if people are staying in housing. There could be a nexus to what you do after work and bringing it into the workplace. So you want to be careful with that. We see examples quite often of coworkers going to bars after work and some sexual comments or activities occur, and then it comes over into the workplace. So be careful with that. It can happen also while you're on a detail. How can it happen? It can happen in writing or by text as well, not just in person. So be careful what you text people. And what you send to people on social media, especially in Teams chats, those are discoverable. We can get into people's chats if they say, well, somebody chatted me this, and it was inappropriate. We can retrieve those messages. Even by email. Email, you can delete them, but they never go away. We have cases oftentimes where we have to retrieve people's emails and text, so be careful with that. Next slide. This is what I just stated, just to emphasize, it's email communications. They are never deleted from the server. Next slide. Now, who can be the harasser? Does it have to be someone in a position of authority, supervisor or manager? No, it does not. It can be a coworker. It could be a coworker in a different work unit at another park. It can be a member of the same sex or the opposite sex. Next slide. So what happens if you experience or witness harassment? If you're an employer or a peer, if an employer or peer is harassing you, you are encouraged to tell that person their conduct is unwelcome and it's unwanted. You could request that it cease if you're uncomfortable. Remember, the definition is unwelcome conduct. So if it's found that you're engaging in this type of conversation and opening up to that person, that's going to appear to be welcomed. So you want to be careful with that as well. If you don't feel comfortable addressing the alleged harasser, you should report it. You're not required to necessarily tell the person to stop, but how would they know if you don't say, oh, I'd rather not talk about that or something of that nature? But if you don't feel comfortable, you can still report it and we'll look into the matter. Next slide. So who should you report it to? You should report it to any supervisor of the person harassing you. You can report it to any NPS supervisor or management official, or you can report it to anti-harassment office or to the Office of Inspector General. You can report it to any of these places, and they have a requirement to submit the allegations into our tracking system. And also, one thing else I want to add, you can also enter it yourself. We have in my SharePoint, anti-harassment SharePoint, which we'll show in the last slide. You can report it yourself, and I'll get the notification directly, and it get assigned to someone on my team. Okay, duty to act. So, as I mentioned, if you report it, you have one avenue is to report it to your supervisor or manager. They have an obligation to report it. If they do not report it, they can be disciplined for or failure for negligence and supervisory duties. So they are required to report it. Next slide. Okay, so what happens once you report it? For example, say if you report it to a supervisor, they're required to, whatever supervisor you reported to, they're required to enter it into the tracking system. And then from that point, we'll review it, assign an investigator as appropriate. Investigator may be a management official. It could be an anti-harassment POC. But depending on the type and level of the allegations, we have to review it. We have to report to the Office of Internal Investigation Office, and also you can report it to OSC, Office of Special Counsel. But if it comes to my office, the process is we review it and we assign it as appropriate. If it's assigned to a management official, someone on my team will walk the manager through conducting a fact-finding report into the matter. Once the investigation is complete, the report of investigation is reviewed by the assigned employee in my office and will assist the management official with determining if further action is warranted. Next slide. So confidentiality. Is there confidentiality when you report it? There is to a certain extent, and I'm going to go over what that actually means. The person that reporting the alleged harassment is not released. So if Jane Doe reported an incident, we're not going to say, well, Jane Doe said this. what we're going to do is we're going to look at it and say, well, there were allegations reported that this conduct occurred, and strictly go by the allegations that we received. There's no need to say who reported it. Now, of course, if it's being reported that, okay, John was sexually harassed and we have all these witnesses. Yes, when we start asking the questions, did you see an employee make these type of actions towards John Doe? So of course, that information is going to be obvious during the questioning. But as far as confidentiality of who reported the allegations, that is confidential. Let me see. What else do I need about confidentiality? Okay, discipline action, that's confidential. For example, if alleged harasser, if we looked at the report of investigation and found that, yeah, there was misconduct done by this alleged harasser, and we're going to take disciplinary action. The alleged victim will never know what type of disciplinary or corrective action was taken. If we suspend that person for 2 days or give them a reprimand, we do not share that with the alleged victim, because this process is for management. It's for management and to work with my office into stopping the harassing conduct. If you're looking for individual redress, that would have to be through the EEO process. Next slide. Okay, speaking of EEO process, look, what's the difference? Here's some key differences. As I said, anti-harassment, filing a complaint through the anti-harassment program, the goal is to eliminate the harassing conduct as soon as possible. You cannot receive any type of compensation for cases that are sustained through EEO. An individual can get individual relief and compensatory damage awards. You can't get that through the filing through the anti-harassment program. Also, filing through the anti-harassment program, it is the goal to prevent the harassing conduct before it becomes severe or pervasive. With EEO, if one incident happens where, say, somebody said, hey, John looks hot, under the anti-harassment program, that's a violation. Through EEO process, why it is inappropriate conduct, it has to be more widespread or really severe or pervasive for it to be processed under the EEO program. Through the anti-harassment program, we ensure that corrective action is taken. There's no course of action that EEO could take as far as ensuring that the supervisor is disciplined. Through anti-harassment, we have to have corrective action against anything sustained against alleged harasser. And also, lastly, there's no time limit to submit allegations through the anti-harassment process. Something can happen 3 months or 6 months ago, or even last summer. It can still be reported and looked into under the anti-harassment program. With the EEO process, generally, the complaint must be filed within 45 days of the incident occurring. Next slide. And also, can you file both at the same time? Yes, you can. You can file a report of harassing conduct through the anti-harassment program and also through the EEO process. You can also file simultaneously a grievance or another complaint process. Just know that just because you file a complaint through the anti-harassment program doesn't mean now you got 45 days to file an EEO complaint from the time you filed an anti-harassment. It doesn't satisfy the time restrictions. EEO is 45 days from the incident. Next slide. Okay, so here's some key takeaways. Know that NPS will not tolerate harassing conduct of a sexual or non-sexual nature. That's against from any NPS employee, intern, volunteer, contractor, partners, or other non-federal employee or members of the public. So you as a intern, do not feel like you do not have a course of action. You can still file a complaint if it's through if it's if the harassing conduct is against say a permanent NPS employee or even a fellow intern. Okay, next slide. Okay, here's a list of employee support options. If you run into like conflict resolution, you also have available resources such as our ombudsman's office, employee assistant program, EEO, as I mentioned, OIG, as I mentioned, to report concerns of fraud, waste, and mismanagement. So there's several other support options that's available as well. Next. Okay, next slide. So here are our POCs for each region. The SharePoint at the bottom, if Vivian, if you could share that with the interns, that would be great. That link is a SharePoint to the anti-harassment office. It goes over mainly everything what I discussed today, and also is the link that you report harassing conduct. You will see when you go into that SharePoint, there's a link that says report harassing conduct here. You click on it and it takes you to the form to complete. And then I get notification of all the complaints for NPS. Next slide. Okay, any questions does anyone have that I can answer today? Okay. If not, I wish everyone the best with your career here at NPS. And if something ever comes up, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to ask any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Kim, and thank you all for joining us today for our workplace harassment webinar from the National Park Service. If you have any questions at all about the presentation, definitely feel free to reach out to Kim. I will make sure to share the recording as well as the presentation slides with you all. So we will give you back your 30 minutes. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the week and a holiday weekend. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.